This video is brought to you by Kaiju Kaizen, but more on that in a moment after the deck tech. So today we're back on Modo. That's right, we're playing with that application that looks like it's made out of old hair that you found on the back of the sofa, and it's all strung together and glued together with a little bit of yeast and snot that you excavated from your own nose. And we're playing a deck that probably could be described in a similar way. We're playing Coat and Taxes. This is blue, white, death and taxes, but we're playing Cryptic Coat as the titular coat. And this deck is sweet. Look, it's not tier 1, but I'm playing it on the weekend at multiple events. I'm playing an F&M and RCQ and a smaller event too, because I just really enjoy playing with these cards. There are better top tier decks, I guess, that have probably better matchups in general, but you know what? I'm no coward. I'm going to play a real deck full of real cards. Because that's right, I'm saying that Crashing Footfalls isn't a real card. For those of you that have never played D&T or seen me play D&T or have never heard me explain D&T,
first time.
I'll do the spiel, okay? I'll do the spiel. Are you ready? This is a white aggro deck that's also a control deck at the same time. It is a true oxymoron. We're playing cards that look to disrupt our opponent. The two titular ones for the majority of the time in Modern and Legacy, well, one of them in Legacy, but in Modern and Legacy is Leon Arbiter, a 2-mana 2/2 cat cleric that says players can't search libraries. Any player may pay 2 as a special action for that player to ignore this effect. In essence, it makes fetch lands worse, it makes tutor effects worse, and it makes some of our cards better. More on that in a moment. The other key card for D&T has been Thalia, which at the moment is relegated to the sideboard because she's bad into Orcish Bowmasters, and she's also just not that great into Yawgmoth and Amulet Titan, 2 decks that are things that I have to worry about. And thus she's in the sideboard to come in against the Living End and similar, and against Rhinos, and against quite a few decks, any non-Bowmaster combo deck, any non-Bowmaster Cascade deck, and so on. But anyway, she's in the sideboard. She makes spells cost 1 more. The other key cards from the deck are, well, I guess it's Stoneforge Mystic. It's a 2-mana 1/2 search and equipment, and for 2 mana, when you put that equipment into play, they can't counter it, obviously, because it's an activated ability. Unless you can counter an activated ability, it avoids counter spells, basically. And it allows you to play a package. Now, I've gone back and forth on Swords and Battle Skulls and similar, but I've landed on, for the time being, one singular copy of Cryptic Coat and one singular copy of Kaiju Complete. Now, Kaiju Complete is a big old beater, a 5-mana indestructible first striking, trampling, hasting, a thing that when it damages something, it exiles it. It is our game closer for our aggro top end. Meanwhile, Coat is an aggro card, a control card, it's not a tempo card, it's a card advantage engine, that's why it's a control card. In essence, it's a 3-mana equipment from Murder's X Markov Mana, which I can't put in the description of this video because YouTube might not allow the video to be seen or something. And it's an equipment with no equip cost. Instead, when it enters the battlefield, it will trigger and cloak the top card of our library, and put the top card of our library face down as a 2/2 creature that has Ward 2 inherently as part of the cloaking. Then in addition to that, it gives the creature +1/+0 and can't be blocked. And for 2 mana, you can bounce Coat back to your hand. So the cool stuff we can do with Coat is we can put it into play, bounce it back to our hand, and put it into play again off Stoneforge Mystic. And for 4 mana, we can do it each turn to grind out value, creating a 2/2 every single time. It being unblockable means it serves the old purpose that Swords of X and Y used to do of getting through and hurting our opponent. And on top of that, things it puts into play will be creatures, primarily, as we're playing primarily creatures. And if we have creatures in play, we can flip them over for their mana cost, so we can get like a Sarah Paragon off of it, for example. Or we can flicker them over with Flicker Wisp or Ephemerate to get them for cheaper. So sometimes we might flip over a sideboard tech, like we might find a Cursed Totem as a cloak creature, and then against Yawgmoth, for example, we will Ephemerate that into play, because Cursed Totem is our key card against Yawgmoth. It allows us to get card advantage, dig deeper, make bodies, get evaded. Basically, Cryptic Coat is insanely good. And Wisping it itself, even if the creature that it finds, say it's a Plains that's manifested down, face down as a cloaked creature, just Flicker Wisping the Coat itself will reset it and create us a body. Coat is very, very good. It's like Batterskull and True Name Nemesis did the Hanky Panky, and this is the baby that came out the other side of it. And the reason we're also on blue-white is not just because of Coat. We're playing 2 copies of Lavinia in the main and 1 on the side. Lavinia says each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with mana value greater than the number of lands that the player controls. So essentially, you can't cast Leyline's Binding unless you have 6 or 7 lands in play, and Tron can't cast Planeswalkers unless they have lands in play equal to the CMC of the spell. There are other applications to that, but they're the main 2. On top of that, Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell instead. So Lavinia actually counters Mishra's Bauble, any Cascade spells like Living End and Crashing Footfalls, two prominent decks in the metagame right now. Basically, from a metagame perspective, I'm taking to try and beat Living End, Rhinos, and then to a lesser extent, Amulet Titan and Yawgmoth, and to a lesser extent below that is probably your conventional Tron deck playing the One Ring. That's kind of the 5 boogeymen that I'm aiming to beat. I think Lavinia is really good right now. On top of that, we've got Archon of Emeria as our next disruption piece. It essentially says each opponent can't cast more than one spell at each turn, so it turns Cascade off, for example, so you can't Living End or Rhinos, and it also just makes players play slower and one spell per turn. It can screw over Storm, it can screw over aggro decks trying to burn you out with multiple burn spells, it can do all sorts of stuff. Snapcaster Mage becomes a lot worse, although if you're playing Snapcaster Mage in Modern, I salute you, hats off to that. And then second mode is non-basic lands your opponents control and the battlefield tapped. The first line of text is each player, so we can only play one spell per turn with Archon in play as well. That's a sequencing thing we have to keep in mind. The second part only affects our opponent, so we can play our plethora of non-basics alongside it, and love life. Then we've got Aether Vial, which basically ticks up each turn to put a counter on it. We can choose not to tick it up if we want to, and then it taps to put a creature into play out of our hand equal to CMC equal to the number of counters on it. Basically, you put it to 2 or 3 and we stop ticking. It allows us to flash in Arbiters in response to fetch lands, Stoneforge at the end of turn. Wisp can do some ludicrous things. Wisp plus Vial, when Wisp has instant speed abilities, it is the best card in Magic. I'll explain why there's only 2 in the deck in a moment, and other similar sort of shenanigans, shall we say. Our Vial is really, really good at allowing us to throw our lands away to blow up our opponent's lands. It allows us to deploy threats faster by spending our mana on a creature and putting a creature into play free off of Vial, and it allows us to instant speed interact. So it's got a lot of applications. That said, I think nowadays I'm cutting Vial into any deck that can easily kill it. So if you're playing into a Prismatic Ending or Leyland's Binding deck, which tends to be the same decks, I'm cutting Vial because I don't want to rely upon it. And if they're binding it and then you blow up a binding, it comes back with no counters and you've got to wait for it to tick up. And it just basically, that's a tempo play in itself. They reduce your card quality over a period of time. And into those decks with a lot of removal, you need your top decks and your cards in play to be as good as they can be. And we are playing some pretty janky cards. So card quality is important. So you cut Aether Vial. Similar logic in my mind to how we used to cut it against Jund, I don't know, 6 years ago when I was playing this deck a lot more. Giver of Runes protects our creatures. Ephemerate resets ETBs. It also allows us to protect creatures from removal. It's important if you want to like flicker an Arbiter or a Thalia or Lavinia to keep it around so that it disrupts them further. We can also scam Solitude. So if we pitch a white card of Solitude, make a Solitude and Ephemerate it, we exile 2 of their creatures and keep the Solitude around. Only really good into creature-based mid-range deck. And the other really tricksy shit you can do with it is if someone pays for Arbiter, you can't respond to them paying, it's a special action. But we go back to them then fetching with a fetch land or a tutor effect. We can then ephemerate the Arbiter, and it becomes a new instance of an Arbiter. It's a brand new Arbiter, but you have to pay again. So if they only have 2 mana available and they pay and then crack a fetch and you ephemerate your Arbiter, they can't pay and they can't fetch, and it basically causes them to sack a land and do nothing. It's pretty sick. On the topic of that sort of synergy, we have Ghost Quarter and we have Volatile Fault in our main deck. We have 8 copies of this sort of effect. Essentially, it blows up one of the lands and allows us to go searching for a basic. In some matchups, when your opponent's got a basic or 2 in play, they won't have any left. So it's just knowing opposing decks' basic counts will help. Pay attention in game 1 and 2, so in game 3 you might know how many basics they've got in Living End, for example. But mainly, if Arbiter is in play, this is a straight-up strip mine. And Volatile Fault is a 1-mana strip mine that leaves us with a treasure and thus allows us to continue developing our board state. In essence, these are very, very good in like Amulet and Tron anyway. It's just disrupting the Amulet and Tron lines, blowing up a bounce land in response to the bounce trigger, or blowing up a Tron land before they can untap or generate the mana they need to do so, whilst there's something, you know, on the stack that they can't cast or similar. Well, they can generate the mana, that's not the point. But I mean like doing it in our turn or in their draw step, for example. These cards are good into some matchups on their own, and then you add the ability to like be tricksy with Arbiter. It's very strong. And then beyond that, we have Horizon Canopy. I might actually cut a Henry Pathway to play a second Canopy when I play this on the weekend. Iganjo Castle, the new version, City of the Empire is our other bit. Then we have some Path to Exile because we've cut 1 Solitude to go up to 2 Path. The reason for the more Path and cutting a Solitude is that I found that exiling a big creature in like the Domain matchup, for example, and giving them 5 life means we can't close the game out in the air with like an Archon and a Wisp, and thus we just lose because we are still an aggro deck. So being able to path them, which with an Arbiter in play gets them nothing, or gets them a land that's useless if they're dead, allows us to still enact the aggro plan. And then our sideboard is Curse Totems primarily for the mirror if you play against it, and we can cut our Givers to turn their Givers and Stoneforgers off, or mainly Yawgmoth to just turn off all their mana abilities and stupid shit. Light and Shadow for any match we're going to grind, or any deck that is black-white primarily with black and white removal. And then we've got Deputy of Detention as just another removal spell for random stuff. Lavinia is just when we're into the matches where Lavinia is good, we want to consistently draw her, so we got 3 copies. Thalia is kind of Lavinia's 4 and 5 in a sense, but with a slightly better body with a first strike. Skulking Apparition is into like Hammer and other aggro decks and mirrors and similar. Loran is for any deck playing artifacts and enchantments. Now, that's a good point. We are playing one main deck Dawnbringer Cleric, just one copy. That sometimes is good. It can gain you life against aggro decks. It can destroy an enchantment, which could be Urza's Saga, Leyline of the Guildbacked, or Leyline's Binding. So it normally has a target in a lot of matches right now. Or it can exile a card from the graveyard, which is actually reasonable to Living End matchup and Dredge and similar too. Not that Dredge is a common deck. But the point is, a lot of its modes are relevant, and with an Ephemerate, sometimes it can be real clutch. Blowing up a Saga, them going like Saga on turn 1 or 2, and you untapping and playing Dawnbringer Cleric is like a situation where it's like the old thing of going Arbiter Ghost Court on turn 2 off of a Noble Hierarch. It's brutal, so it's worth having. I wanted to put a second in the board, but couldn't figure out what I wanted to cut. And then we've got 2 Leonin Relic Warders, which are like Dawnbringer Cleric and Loran, but they hit artifacts too. They got an O-ring effect on their body, so they're good against hardened scales and into a hammer more so. There's enchantment targets for your enchantment disruption as well, but being able to hit a hammer, or being able to hit like a walking ballista or something at an opportune time is good. And then we have 4 creatures with pro-red because of Ragavan's and Holy Heats and similar. And Sanctifying Vec also has some graveyard hate and some pro-black as well, which allows us to disrupt Living End and other reanimator packages. Creativity, for example, if they're playing the Persist combo as part of their main deck. And then Burriton allows you to also blank burn spells, which in the current format is just, burn is floating around. People will be playing burn, but mainly it's Tribal Flames. I have died in the last couple of weeks to Tribal Flames more times than I'd like to count. I've had 2 opponents have double Tribal Flames when I'm on 10 life. It's been pretty embarrassing. So Burriton fortunately can blank one of those Tribal Flames by sacking itself too, and do stuff like that. I can also blank for damage-based sweepers, which, for example, Titan has been playing. Titan has been playing, I think it's Storm's Wrath, a 4 mana, 4 damage to all creatures in red. Burriton Forge Trend allows you to blank that as well, giving you a sort of Selfless Spirit style effect. And that is the deck. I think it's quite good right now. Not best deck in format, but if you know the cards, you can get some really rewarding games out of it. So we're going to go to some games now, but first we've got a message from today's sponsor, which is Kaiju Kaizen. This video is brought to you by Kaiju Kaizen. Kaiju Kaizen's primary focus is its gameplay depth, strategy, and heavy skill-based gameplay. It's looking to have a creative environment in which there's a massive breadth of competitive decks where no 2 games are ever the same. A design focused to avoid strategies that have upset players in the past like mill or control, ridiculously long combos, or one-turn kills. Instead, focusing on player agency and player interaction. On top of all that, there's a challenging single-player AI too. You can play free at the link in the description below at kaijukaizen.com, and you can join the Discord to get 3 free packs. The invite to the Discord server is down below. Thanks to Kaiju Kaizen for sponsoring this video.
Game!
We have won the die roll. This is a 2-lander with some 2-drops. Can't cast on Lavinia, but hopefully Arbiter and Dawnbringer Cleric will be good here. That's insightful commentary, right? Hopefully the cards on our hand will be good. I'm sure no content creator or Magic players ever thought anything similar in their lives. The hand is keepable normally off of a Giver of Runes or an Aether Vial, right? It gives us a turn 1 play that will have some sort of impact. If they're a combo deck, then Giver does less. If there's some sort of mid-range or aggro deck, Giver does more. Goblin Blast Runner. Are we into goblins? I don't know what this is. I'm not going to pretend to know half the stuff that's going on in the world right now. Confusing, scary place out there with Goblin Blast Runners coming at you. So there's a lot of menace next turn if they sacrifice an opponent, which includes fetch lands, right? Not much we can do about that. Here's a Ghost Quarter. We're going to go ahead and play an Arbiter, which hopefully will make their fetch lands awkward if they are playing fetches. If it has Menace, we aren't blocking it. If it doesn't have Menace, we can block and give Pro Red and kill it, and then probably lose our Arbiter or Giver to a red spell. So we have to consider whether or not we're opening ourselves up to removal by doing a profitable block. Also, they can kill it in response to the activation, so it's not even a profitable block for certain. Basically, I'm explaining to you the deep and complicated nuance of whether or not to activate your Giver. Normally, you don't. Normally, you don't use it that often for that sort of combat math, unless it really matters for like the end of the game. They cracked a ton not understanding how Arbiter works. I guess to get Menace, maybe it's for the aggro. I mean, reading the card does explain the card. Well, I guess reading the card, explaining the card after you've cracked your fetch, and then you scoop out of embarrassment. Post-board, we have a Lightning Shadow that gains us life, so we're going to bring this in. We also have 2 Sanctify and Vec with Pro Red, Pro Black on them, and Burrowed Forge Tenders with Pro Red. These obviously best with graveyards, but more importantly, Burrowed Fortune will blank some of their red removal and red damage spells, or just any red source that gets through if it has menace. Beyond that, I'm going to bring in a Skyclave Apparition. I'm also going to bring in a Deputy of Detention. I think the more removal, the better into what the deck looks like. Thalia might be good as a first striking block against menace creatures, so I'm going to bring that in as well. I've got a feeling that Lavinia is going to matter very little. Maybe that's famous last words. Keep Dawnbreaker Cleric in for the life gain, even if the enchantment destruction doesn't matter. And then we're just gonna like bulk up on removal. I think I cut Caldra. I don't think I need more than 2 equipments here. Although Caldra allows us to race, but Cryptic Command makes a blocker. Cryptic Coat. God, that was a weird Freudian slip. And the Wisps probably don't do enough in this matchup. This is why I don't play so many anymore. They're not good into Bowmaster, and they're not good into like the aggro matchups. Arbiter won us the game, so I'm inclined not to cut it. Although when you're on the draw, Arbiter is worse. So I tend to side them out when I'm playing on the draw against certain matchups. Yeah, Caldra Complete can go. Sarah Paragon's probably too slow as well. I'm going to trim 1 Arbiter, 1 Archon, and 1 Ephemerate. That's my sideboarding. I don't know if it's correct. You can tell me in the comment section below if you think I'm an idiot. And you can tell me if you think I'm an idiot, independent of whether or not you think that was correct sideboarding. Okay, we have 2 uncastable spells until we draw blue source. Although Volatile Fault does make us a treasure and we can Ghost Quarter ourselves in a pinch, so it's not completely uncastable. I'm going to give it the back of Arbiter, plus Ghost Quarter seems pretty good into them, especially if they rely on those fetch lands. Again, this is uncastable with our current composition, but I'm sure we'll draw a 4th land. So we're going to keep this. God, this is a questionable keep. No Vial, no Giver, and unable to cast any of these 3 spells. Do you know what? This was probably bad, but I'm a game up, so I can make questionable decisions. They bauble, they take a look, they play a Seal of Fire, which gives them an Arbiter answer. Nice, nice. They target themselves, by the way, so they don't know about this land with the bauble. So I'm just going to play a Ghost Quarter. For now. Oh, well, if we drew Lavinia... Well, drawing Lavinia, we could have gone, like, Seat into blue pathway. Whatever 2-drop we played, or 2 toughness thing we play is going to die anyway. So I'm going to play the Ghost Quarter, hide some stuff from my hand, hide what colours we got. Make them think twice about playing Metron lands. They play a fetch land, sure. They crack the fetch, grab something lands. They are red-green. It's just red-green monsters, red-green aggro. Ren and 6. Oh, okay. I do wonder if my list needs some better graveyard hate beyond the red-black hate card. I think we just run out Arbiter into the Seal of Fire next turn and just get it off the board. We're just going to trade 1 for 1 in that sense. Okay, I'm going to keep my pathway for probably a blue source here. We're just going to play Arbiter. Here he is. Now, I guess there's an argument that if we hid the Ghost Quarter, they might have, like, played differently around the Arbiter. But ultimately, with Seal of Fire on the board, it's just largely academic. So Ren and 6 has already drawn them 1 card by putting the fetch land in their bin back in their hand. The fetch land in their hand is not good with Arbiter in play, but they obviously have an onboard answer to Arbiter, so that's largely irrelevant. Oh, they have Flame Slash here. They're going to do a 4 damage spell on the Arbiter to keep Seal of Fire around. I think that's a bad bit of sequencing in my opinion, because this is more likely to kill other things, right? Like Sarah Paragons, for instance, if you know the deck lists. Or, as our hand here, a 1-3. They fetch up Commercial District here in Surveil. They put a Bloodstained Mire in the bin, which they can get back with Ren and 6. I wonder if they're like Jund. Unsure. This does trigger their goblins, so maybe having the sacrifice effect around later is what they're looking for here. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and play Cryptic Coat. It makes a 3-2 with Ward. 3-2 is unblockable. They can't Seal a Fire at this turn because of the Ward. I don't know how much main deck like artifact hate they'll have. So like playing it out without protection is like a potentially a thing, but I mean I'm okay with like firing this a bit later. They'll draw 1 more card out of it, but this way they have to spend some mana to kill this next turn, even if they use Seal of Fire. And the fact that they didn't want to hold Seal of Fire up is we can pop Seal of Fire with Skyclave Apparition, because if they sack it in response to kill the Skyclave, they don't get anything out of it. So we are trading 1 for. They crack their Bloodstone Mire. They got to 4 mana here, and I don't know what their deck is. Jund stuff. No, not even Jund stuff. Red-green stuff. Red-green monsters, as it used to be called back in the day. Ogier Axe and Hail Deepest Might. Interesting. So the Seal of Fire now does 4 damage. Fascinating stuff. So Ren's going to shoot me for 4 damage here. Wow, okay. Solid. We can kill this with Skyclave Apparition. Obviously, when they kill it with Skyclave, when they kill Skyclave Apparition with Seal of Fire, they'll get a 4/4 back. Or we can go ahead and go Skyclave Apparition, target the Seal of Fire. They fire back at the Skyclave, and then we ephemerate. That seems decent. Although our mana is bad, so we actually can't do that. So we're going to go to combat. And we're going to attack the Wren here. For 3, unblockable. So if we apparition the Ogier... Oh, sorry, I'm using the wrong pronunciation. The O'Hare. They're going to kill it with Seal of Fire, and that'll make them a 4/4, which is a big boy. Now, importantly, the 4/4 can't be removed with a Skyclave, but it can be removed with a Deputy. So I think that's a rather clean and succinct answer, especially with, like, next turn we have Ephemerate online with the Deputy. I guess O'Hare only does the damage bonus to players. So the Seal of Fire cannot kill Deputy of Detention, right? I think we just Deputy the O'Hare here. Ephemerate can transform this land into a land, but we don't want to do that. If this was like a 4-drop, we can ephemerate it back into play as a creature, which is pretty decent. So we're going to eat up O'Hare here with Deputy of Detention. They can like down-tick Wren and Seal of Fire the Deputy, and then we just ephemerate in response and get huge amounts of value out of it and love life. Putting Wren down by 3 points also means that if they do down-tick Wren, they lose the Wren, which is pretty decent. Hitting them was not really the option there. Hitting the Wren was way better. So they're going to shoot the Deputy here. We're going to immediately ephemerate the Deputy. So we're trading 1 for 1 here, ephemerate for the bolt. Although ephemerate will trigger next turn and give us another target. So now we target the O'Hare, and they can now fire off the Seal of Fire for 4 damage to our face if they want to. They do not. We blank the bolt. If I was good at the game, I'd know whether one of the 4 cards in the hand is a fetch that they put back with Wren. But anyway, they play a fetch, which is a fetch that we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen this Tarn. They get themselves a mountain. They have 4 mana available. This is going to be another O'Hare. Is another O'Hare. They have 8 damage on board. They have 4 from Seal of Fire and 4 from Wren and 6. But if they had another O'Hare, they probably bolted my face and put me... Bolt plus Seal of Fire plus Wren and 6 would have put me to 2 life. I think that's a good place to put me, right? So they're going to Lava Dart my Deputy of Detention here. They're going to Seal of Fire it. That gets them back O'Hare. Again, O'Hare only increases the damage to face, right? So they Lava Dart my face for 4. Holy guacamole. I'm dead. Wren plus double Lava Dart means I'm dead. That is a lot of damage. Jeez. So the Lava Dart O'Hare deck is actually quite good. The Lava Darts obviously aren't good into our exile red cards that go to the graveyard abilities of our red hate cards. So our red hate cards are even better than I thought here. So we're dead. Very explosive turn 5 from them. Lavinia says you can't actually cast spells for 0. So we're bringing Lavinia back in. Stops them from Lava Darting out of the bin. Also, the Archon and the Arbiter are coming back in for the post board. Archon means they can only cast 1 spell a turn. Arbiter is obviously very good into them fetching. I think we're okay trimming Givers here. We really want to, like, kill their stuff. And Arbiter and Stonefall are just disruptive enough. I'm trimming 1 Stonefall. We've got loads of pro-red, so the Giver becomes a little weaker. Is Apparition better than an Arbiter? Apparition better than a Giver? Well, that's the question. Maybe, just maybe, in this aggro matchup, we should be cutting our Vials. That's always like a sacred cow. Okay, we've got no land. We've got Vial, Burden Fortune, Thalia, Arbiter, Deputy. This is a pretty solid hand. Like, really solid. Especially on the play. We need to put a card back, so I'm going to put Deputy on the bottom. We'll go land, Vial. So next turn we're going to be making an Arbiter plus a Burton, or a Thalia plus a Burton. Probably Arbiter, I think. I guess Thalia would stop them casting Wren and 6 for certain, where Arbiter only stops them casting Wren and 6 if they have a fetch land on turn 2. Dragon Age Channeler on turn 1. Okay. And they fetched a mountain, which suggests to me they've got the other colour source in their hand. Probably a fetch. We'll shock this in and we'll guarantee no turn 2 Wren and 6. If Thalia looks really important, we can obviously flash in the Burton Fortune off of our 8th Vial and we can sack it to protect her from a red spell. Although I think Burton Fortune might be at their best this game by blanking 4 damage to the face. We don't have an O'Hare answer right now. Oh, they play Goyf. Interesting. So they can't attack into us here. Sure. And then we're going to make a Forged Tendo on end step. Now, this is interesting because Goyf We don't really have much of an answer for Goyf here. We drew Ephemerate, which is at least interesting. Ephemerate going into the bin would grow the Goyf, but of course it goes into exile and suspend with rebound the first time we use it. Ephemerate costs 2 mana here. If they crack a fetch, we can flash in Arbiter. They instead shock in a Stomping Ground, which is really unfortunate for us if we're honest. If they go Ren, Ping, Thalia, we can protection with the Burriton or the Ephemerate. The Ephemerate value is pretty poor. Thalia going to the bin does make Tamagotchi for 2/3, so we don't really want that happening. I'd rather get this Goyf like off the board with a good block somehow. The Surveil 1 from casting a Ren here would also probably grow the Goyf, or at least give them like a good 50% chance. So Goblin Chain Whirler. Jesus Christ. There's actually no way of saving our Thalia in this situation, other than Burrington Forge tendering her, which means that there'd still be a creature in the bin and Goyf become a 2/3. Oh, Chain Whirler is brutal here. So we can put a trigger on the stack. Ephemerate does not save Thalia here. Okay, Thalia is just dead. I don't think putting the Burriton onto her is a good idea. The other option would have been like protect her, flash in the Arbiter, double block the Goyf. Are they going to respect the Varlon too? Do they think it's a creature that can block that? They are. No, Goyf attack is interesting. And by interesting, I mean probably wrong. So we need some gas. Stoneforge Mystic could still be good. We're not going to go Var for that reason, because we can pay through the Arbiter attacks with our lands. We drew Path. Path is pretty good here. Path will grow the Goyf. Chain Whirler we can block forever. So I think we just Path the Goyf whilst they're tapped out. There's an argument that if they go land O'Hare, we're in a bit of a shit. But Goyf is just more of a pressing issue right now. And with them tapped out, they couldn't search for a land off the Arbiter, thanks to the denial of searching. Now, if they play a fetch land, click Arbiter, pay the 2, we can actually Ephemerate and make them have to pay 2 again. So we can deny them a fetch land here if we want to off the Ephemerate. So they play a Seal of Fire, sure. They Surveil 1. Maybe they'll get the Dragon Rage Channel online via this. Enchantment plus land plus creature. That's 3 types of things to the bin. They're going to... Yeah, I think I keep the Arbiter around. Hopefully it just messes with their 4th land. There's a thing that this Ephemerate's way better if I draw something with an actual ETB ability. Do they have a Bolt here? No, so Arbiter is back. Seal of Fire goes to the bin. They can just play a fetch and pay through now, though. That is a thing they could do. Yeah, I would have much rather Ephemerate in response to this, but my opponent didn't know to click the Arbiter. They said something earlier about being aware than not being aware. Well, I've got them now. This is always a bit of a feel bad, but once upon a time they actually changed Arbiter to be that like it came up with a prompt like, would you like to pay? The problem was that it would then auto pass priority on the thing that you were searching with. Because what happens is when they put the fetch down on the stack, you can then flicker, they can pay, and then when you go back to the priority on the fetch land, that's when you flicker it with the Ephemerate or similar effect to make them have to pay 4. Okay, so we strip mine them through awkward interfaces of magic. It's annoying because like I'm planning to play this deck on the weekend at like an RCQ and a smaller event in London, and you don't get those free percentage points like this. So it's not really ideal. I'm going to say no to this. I don't want to put this... I don't want to flicker my Arbiter around. We drew a Ghost Quarter, so we get to strip mine them now. Arbiter is truly unique. It's kind of partly why I love it, but partly why it can be a real feel bats. Tell me in the comment section below how you feel about this, right? Because like Arena probably... Would Arena give you a prompt? Depends if they can program it, right? So they're going to reveal cost to a library. They're probably going to choose land here to find themselves a land. If it's a fetch land, they won't be able to crack it this time. Yep, they find themselves... Oh, they Surveil a Bloodstained Mire to the graveyard. They reveal 7 cards and they put Bloodstained Mire in their hand. We see nothing new. We see Seal of Fire here. In the comment section below how you feel about this, right? Because like Arena probably... Would Arena give you a prompt? Depends if they can program it, right? I think I let this go. Arbiter's done his job. He's like double strip mine them at this point. The Burridge from Fortune not only will block the Chain Whirler for the rest of the time itself, but it will also allow us to blank a 4 damage shot from an O'Hare setup later on as well. We are taking 3 in the air each turn now. I should fake an Native Vial activation here, but we have nothing in hand, so it doesn't create any sort of sweats. We will tick this up now. We drew Stoneforge. Could have drawn that the turn before, but It's fine. It's still pretty good here. A Sword of Fire and Ice would be dope. We don't have one. I cut it from the list today. Light and Shadow gets us both back, Thalia and Arbiter. But it does require us drawing a 4th land next turn to be able to use it. But the life gain's also huge. I think Light and Shadow is like an easy pick here. They have 2 cards in hand. We know none of them. They used the Bloodthin Mire last turn to go get the Commercial District. 3 cards in hand. I guess Chain Whirler also domes your opponent for 4 when you have an O'Hare in play. That's pretty good. Flame Slash is going to target my Snowforge Mystic. I'm gonna protect the Mystic here, because having that sort of Light and Shadow is going to be huge. It can get back the Burden Forge Tender as well. So we have to try and keep it alive. We do take 6 this turn though. Our best possible draw next turn is... Well, a land doesn't really matter, because we can make this sort of Light and Shadow and equip it on the following turn. Because equipping it to the Stoneforge Mystic that you're tapping to put it in would be bad. I guess a 3-drop creature plus a land would be good, but we're drawing 1 card, so that's not a thing. So our best possible draw is going to be a 3-drop. They're going to Lava Dart, sack a Mountain Lava Dart. Okay, so now we're on draw 3 mana creatures, because now we can play Light and Shadow next turn and a 3 mana creature. A Skyclave Apparition to get rid of this Dragon Rage Channeler in the air would be really good. So Lava Dart eats our Stoneforge Mystic. The reason we're on a 3 mana creature, by the way, is so I can Violet into play and cast the Light and Shadow. If we draw a 1 mana or a 2 mana creature, we can't do that. So we're taking 6 here. We are on a definitive clock. A 3-turn clock, not including any burn spells. Any 3-drop, please. That is not a 3-drop. It's still a good creature, though. So we can play Sanctifier and Vec. It exiles off in the graveyard. It turns off the Dragon Rage Channeler. It blocks the Goblin Chain Whirler forever. It's a solid draw. Probably better than most 3-drops, actually. So maybe that was actually better than any 3-drop. They play a Tarmogoyf. A legitimate threat. A Skyclave Apparition to be able to gobble that up would be amazing. So 3-drop. Preferably Skyclave. No, we found a land. Okay, well I guess we are taking a hit from that Goyf next turn. Now the annoying thing is that our Vial is on 3. So even if we get put something back on our hand off the Sword and Light and Shadow, we can't Vial it in. Now we can equip Light and Shadow, get back a 2-drop, play a 2-drop of our mana. So that is relevant. If they all out attack here, we have to block the Chain Whirler and we take 5 going to 3. We are begging. We are begging for a 3-drop for this Vial here. Taking it up might have actually been a mistake in some ways. Our Wisps are off the table, but every other 3-drop is still in our deck. And we brought in like Deputy Detention, got Skyclave Apparitions, got the Archons, all of which would be pretty decent right now. Skyclave and Deputy being the best possible draws. Now, if they keep Tomahawk back, it's because they don't want us to hit them with Light and Shadow and get back Burden Forge Tender. That is reasonable. So we've blanked a hit there. I would have got into the aggro zone with Goyf for Vi with them. Vial does not take up here. We draw Cryptic Coat, which is pretty good. It is a Cryptic Coat. It's unblockable, remember. So it's going to make us a body. The body's going to have +1/+0. The body has got Ward. The body is an Archon of a mirror you can flip next turn to make it into a 2/3 or 3/3. Drawing a land means we can flip the Archon and equip a Light and Shadow so it flies. And it's got Ward too. So with their current mana, they cannot target it. It's a pretty good magic card in the current situation. Cryptic Coat is so good. That's why the deck is called Coat and Taxes. Cryptic Coat is Dece. Dece plus. Very Dece. Super Dece. Probably one of the best cards in our deck. I love this card. So there's a fetch land. So now a 1-mana removal spell can pay the double ward to kill the cloaked creature. That is an option for them. What I'd really like them to do is play a Seal of Fire and like hold off on firing it off so we can flip in response and like blank it with our 3 toughness. That'd be amazing. 3-mana Chain Whirler. Okay. That does 1 damage to us. Pings our cloaked creature for 1. Do they get into the red zone? They do not. Interesting. We're going to untap and draw a 3-drop. You ready? We'll be cooking with real gas if we draw a 3-drop. We did not draw a 3-drop. Okay, that is fine. Stoneforge Mystic Grab does nothing anymore because Cloak and Sword of Light and Shadow are in play. We'll equip the Archon with this. We'll go to combat. And we'll hit them for 5 unblockable. It will gain us 3 life, and we'll put Burden Forge Tender back in our hand. And then we'll play the Burden Forge Tender. I could sandbag a land, but I think actually... I think sandbagging the land's better. We can move the sword, but it doesn't do anything other than perhaps allow a Sanctifier and Vec or Burden Fortune to kill a Goblin Chain Whirler in combat. Maybe that's good, actually. Maybe that is good. Also allows us to reset our cloak. Okay, we'll re-equip the sword. It does open them up to like having a removal spell for our cloaked creature if we try and move it back again to get through the Goyf. But we're on a nice 10 life now, so if they go land O'Hare, it doesn't like kill us. Also, any red burn spell can be blanked by the Burden Forge Tender as well, so we are in quite a good spot. They cast Renin 6, which Surveils want, so might get their Dragonway Chandler online. They currently have 2 card types in the bin. They're going to return land to their hand. It's going to be a basic. They play the basic, giving them access to 2 mana now. They can't attack with the Goyf now because it leaves them lethal, so they have to pass back to us. We draw another land, which isn't ideal, but here we have it. We'll go ahead and equip over here. Go to combat. We can kill the Ren, but this puts them on a 2-turn clock. Also, flipping the Archon would mean that they can more than one spell, like O'Hare plus a spell. Also, playing Thalia makes them not be able to cast a spell and then use cast O'Hare and a 1-mana spell, because the 1-mana spell costs 2. But if they cast O'Hare and then down take Ren, it's still 4 damage. But we can blank that with Burriton. Go to 13. Second main phase. We will cast the Thalia. And I think sandbagging this land here is good. It allows us to bounce the Cryptic Code back to hand, but I don't think that's going to win us the game here. I actually think there's more value in the current situation of pretending we have something in the vial. Obviously, in Paper Magic, I'll be able to bluff by looking at the card in my hand and reading it and pretending to do math and stuff, when in reality, all I've got is a Hengate Pathway in my hand. Obviously, moving the sword would make Thalia a 4-2 double striker. I don't know how relevant that is. If they go O'Hare plus Ren downtick, we go to 9. If they somehow put 2 card types in the bin, Channel does 3 to us, we go to 6. And then we just block everything else. I just don't think... Yeah, there's no world where they get past all these powerful hate pieces that we've recurred thanks to Sword of Light and Shadow. Okay, we got there. Congratulations, everybody. We won.
Another one.
We are on the draw this game, and we've got a 2-lander with nothing. We can scam a Solitude. That's like the other angle we've got. Pitch the Skyclave to the Solitude, ephemerate it. I'm going to keep it off the back of a scam hand being reasonable. 1 more land does allow us to play the Coat as well, but the Caldra is basically a dead card in hand until we draw a Stoneforge Mystic, or until the game goes super long to like turn 7. Then being on Tron means that this scam hand is shite. Oh no. We need to draw a Leonin Arbiter or a Ghost Quarter pronto. Stoneforge Mystic does do things. We'll play a Hallowed Fountain tapped. So maybe, just maybe, ripping the Stoneforge off the top and then like making a Caldra is how we kill our opponent before their Tron does anything. Green mana off the Sphere. This is Ancient Stirrings. God, like a comfortable old Coat playing into Tron. It's all cards you recognise and know, and then just the occasional 7 or 9 mana bollocks from the latest set. Talisman of Resilience, no Ancient Stirrings. I lied to you. That would have probably not been in my top 10 cards I would have guessed. Maybe not even top 20. Familiar old Coat that's had a new lick of paint. There's the Expedition map. So whilst the tapped out, slamming an Arbiter would be pretty neat to turn off the map. It would make our Stoneforge awkward, but it's not really searching for anything. We have 2 cards in hand. We did not find it. So we're going to go ahead and just make a Stoneforge Mystic. This will actually search for nothing. We have no other equipment in our hand, in our deck. So now our opponent knows we have at least maybe 2 to 3 equipment in our hand. They might think we're on Blue-White Hammer, by the way. That's one of the cool things about playing this deck, is that you can trick people into thinking you're a Hammer time. And in reality, you're actually a much worse deck than that. 4 mana for the 1 ring. I guess we aren't going to hit them with the Caldra next turn. That's fine. I guess we're going to Cryptic Coat for our body then. They draw a card off the ring. We've got 2 Tron lands here, so they can Tron up next turn. A Ghost Quarter off the top would be sick. That is not a Ghost Quarter. Now, I'm going to go ahead and activate this now to see if we find a cat or a Ghost Quarter. we find neither of those things. So in reality, skyclaving the map was probably the correct line. Either way, I mean, if I ripped like Arbiter then and then like ephemerated it into play off the back of them cracking the map or whatever, well, they would have had money to pay for it. Do you know what? Skyclaving the map was 100% the line, and I'm bad at Magic, and it's fine. Being bad at Magic is okay. Most of us are. Up to 4 cards in hand. When they activate the ring, it'll be 6 cards in hand. They can pay 2 mana into this off the Besage and Talisman to go get a mine this turn and have access to 7 mana. I just really hope to God they make a creature and not something gross like a Khan. They cast Ancient Stirrings, trying to find the Tron without paying 2 into it, which is interesting. They find Ugin, the Spirit Dragon, which they can't cast this turn. Oh, they can because they had mine in hand already. Fucking hell, what a draw. Okay, so Ugin will now exile all of our shit. So they're going to go X or less, which is, yeah, they're going to do it for 3. Now, we don't want to uncloak this. It won't do anything. I guess we just want to make a Solitude here, because our cloaked creature will survive. We're going to target our Stoneforge, because it's going to go the way of the dinosaur. Hold priority. Ephemerate our Solitude. And the reason we're doing this is it gives us a way to kill the onboard Ugin next turn. We'll do it again and say done. We're not gonna target anything. So we get 1 life off the Stoneforge. It being it's going to exile anyway. We'll lose the cloak, but we still have 5 power in play. Now, Ephemerate's gonna come off cooldown, and we're just gonna ignore it. We drew an Arbiter, which is it's both late and shit here. So we're gonna go to combat. Attack the Ugin, killing it. So that gives us some respite. It's not a good spot to be in, but it's something. We're going to go Pathway, Arbiter, pass to them. Ring's going to ping them for 2, take them to 17. We're actually only 3 lands off of slamming Caldra into play, which isn't the worst thing. Although an Ugin can exile the token with its down tick, just so everyone knows. They draw it up. Cards, they're into 8 cards in hand, which I am incredibly jealous of with our 1 lowly 7 drop. Earlier on when we could have skyclaved the map, it wouldn't have changed what happened, so I wasn't punished. But I guess just making the Caldra would have been more threatening, but the token would have died to the Ugin anyway, so again, not really punished. They make an Oblivion Stone that they can pop here, so this is not great, but I guess it's better than them just like killing us, I guess. So don't forget, they get to keep the ring, but they lose the Talisman on the map. So they're still on 8 mana, plus 7 cards in hand, plus drawing 4 cards, plus the Saga. Jesus. The value train is well and truly online. They play a Relic of Progenitus, which is good into an off-the-top Serra Paragon. They have 2 of them, actually, because sometimes even one of your outs is not good enough. We untap and draw Archon of Emeria, which is good in this matchup. It's not good when your opponent has 1,000 mana, a 1 ring online, and 10 cards in hand. That's not when the Archon is good, or at its best in this matchup. Our opponent goes to 14 here. The Saga ticks up. When they make a body off this, the Saga will make a 4/4 body. Now, hitting land drop after land drop after land drop might be like our best out, although Archon can attack over the golems and threaten the life total, which is slowly getting diminished by the 1 ring. So there's a small chance they just fumble their way into a situation where they can't get rid of the ring and it kills them. That's a very small chance. It's basically minimal. But you know, sometimes when you're rolling a rock uphill and that hill is made out of like huge amounts of dog excrement, you have to just take any out you can get. The mine entered tapped here thanks to Archon of Emeria's ability. So they are down 2 mana, but they only have 1,000,000 mana as opposed to 1,000,002. Oh, looks like they've stumbled their way into drawing another 1 ring off their 1 ring. So our 1 ring killing them plan is now 1 ring. And by 1 ring, I mean fucked. So we exile the Arbiter to their Relic of Progenitus. Attacking them this turn does nothing. They draw a card in our turn for reasons no one understands. And we draw a Giver of Runes. I'm just going to slam it down. It's bad into an Ugin. It's bad into a Oblivion Stone, and we can't attack because they don't take damage. Basically, I'm just talking to you now while our opponent like masturbates in the corner. We would have liked to have drawn like a Volatile Fault to blow up one of the Tron lands to really like reduce their mana from 1,000,000 down to something more manageable like 6. And then maybe we have a game. But now they have 1,000,000 mana plus an active ring, plus a 4/4 body in the way of any of our ground creatures. And yeah, the horizon, or the light at the end of the tunnel, is gone. It's been folded up and inserted inside me. That's 2 5/5s. They grab a map. That's 2 6/6. They activate ring. They're coming. They play a worm call engine, which is answerable. It's better than a planeswalker. They attack with a 7/7. We have 24 life, so life is a resource and all that. Then discard down to hand size due to the embarrassment of riches that is the One Ring plus Tron. We draw a Ghost Quarter, but I feel like the damage has been done. I feel like it's a little bit too late. They also have a map. So at this point, I'm just going to stop, fucking defecating into my hands and explaining to you how bad it is. I just can't stop shitting. I just can't stop diarrhea shitting all over myself. I'm going to stop doing that. We'll go to post board. We have lands equal to the CMC. Skyclave deals with all their mini shit again, so we're going to bring that in. Loran does blah, blah, as do the Relic Warders. And Tharley can make Planeswalkers more awkward too. I'm actually going to remove a lot of my, creature removal. We do need some of it. They may make a worm call engine. They may make constructs. But I think, we're going to cut Path, for example, because we don't want to give them a forest. Solitude will stay in. Wisp doesn't do a huge amount outside of, being Viled in. So without a Vile, it's not good. For a clock. So other than having an Arbiter in hand, this is probably our best hand. We're going to play a Giver of Runes. We kind of want them just to play a map or something that we can gobble up with the Relic Ward. We sort of tempo playing. There we go. Obviously, playing just an Arbiter here would be better. So Arbiter for top is good. Well, sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. We're going to go ahead and play an Arbiter, which they can't kill thanks to Giver of Runes. This means we might get to strip mine them next turn. They mine. Double mine is good for us. It means they aren't naturally assembling Tron. We can't actually get a clock on the go with the Stoneforge here. So we're going to play the Ghost Quarter, and we're going to use Volatile Fault plus the Henge to play Thalia. And then we're going to go to combat and just attack them for 2. We are on the true white weenie plan right now. They still need 4 mana to get through this map, through the Arbiter, so we can Relic Water it next turn, quite safe. And Thalia just makes them playing Mana Rocks even more uncomfortable. Basic Forest from our opponent. We drew an Archon, which is pretty good. I guess if we play Archon here, they go pay for Arbiter, fetch with map, and then we just Ghost Quarter them. That seems pretty good. I want to pay for the Hollow Fountain here. Now, we have to be careful of Wraths, but we haven't seen a red source. Giver can protect one of our hate pieces through the Wrath. What Wraths are they playing these days? Oblivion Stone? We can Relic Water that. Play an Archon here. Go to combat. Get into the red zone for 4. Now, there is an option to just Ghost Quarter them and draw step, which forces them to pay 2 mana. But that then means they can play a land and crack the map as well. What we want to do is save our targeted land disruption to take them off Tron and make them have to pay mana whilst we're doing it. That's what we really want. Now, the worst thing to see at this circumstance would be a 4 mana creature like a Thought-Knot Seer, for example. But I guess without them having another basic land, that's not happening. So they have to play Power Plant tapped because of the Archon, which is pretty sweet. We draw Solitude. We go to combat and we attack for 6. We take them to 8 here. And then we represent lethal by playing the Relic Water, gobbling up the map and having 8 power on play. There we go. Okay. No 4 mana, 1 singular red sweep. I guess Kozilek's Return or whatever it is would be a little bit on the rough side. If they went Mountain, Kozilek's... What is it, Kozilek's Return? The colourless sweeper. We can still block one of our creatures surviving off the Giver of Runes. That wouldn't kill the Archon, for example. I can't think of a 3 mana sweeper they might play, but as you can tell, I'm a little bit out of practice. There's not a lot of outs here that I think a conventional Tron deck would be playing. No, okay. Just, not a masterclass, that sounds arrogant, but a really clean, playing the stuff that really fucks with them in a row and curving out and just beating them up with 2/2s. It's pretty decent. I think we just run it back. Stoneforge was rotting in hand because we always want to resolve the Arbiter first, but it is what it is. They're on the play now, so there's a chance they get to map underneath an Arbiter, which we've got in hand. We will be keeping this. They've mulliganed to 5. They really are looking for something. Perhaps a removal spell. We go Giver it into Arbiter here. If they kill our Giver, we play the other Giver and then play the Arbiter afterwards. We don't have a Ghost Quarter or a Volatile Fault, which is a shame. They get Ancient Stirrings to begin. As is mine. We do play 8, 4 Quarter and 4 Volatile Fault. So basically, our chance of drawing 1 in any given game is incredibly high. It must be in the... I don't know. Is that over 80% chance across opening 7 plus the first 4 turns of a game? It's high, right? It's really high. We're going to play this, play Giver of Runes, pass turn. So they had a very strong game 1, we had a very strong game 2. And now hopefully we'll have a strong enough game 3 to stop this. So this Silver Scrying will find the second part of the Tronland puzzle. We are itching to draw a Ghost Quarter. The problem is that they play Power Plant next turn, then we untap and quarter or Volatile Fault them and we'd love life. That's what we want to see. Them leading on Forest was good for us. We did not draw a Ghost Quarter, so we're going to shock in a Hallow Fountain. We're going to play Arbiter. We're going to pass to them. So we are going Arbiter into Archon. We're not attacking Giver of Runes, so we can save Arbiter from a Dismember, for example. Or which member? A Dismember. They play a Power Plant that we knew about. They play Oblivion Stone. Oblivion Stone is 5 mana to activate. So if they play the other Tronland here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They'll have it. We can obviously eat that with Skyclave Apparition. I mean, just draw a Ghost Quarter would be lovely. We did not draw a Ghost Quarter. Playing their Archon is pretty good, but even if, like I said, if they play a Tronland tapped, they still get the 5 mana online. So we're going to pay some life, and we're just going to eat up the Skyclave and hope to God that they go Natural Tron into Ugin. If they go Natural Tron into Ugin, there's not really a whole lot we can do about it, and then we're like fighting a hugely uphill struggle from there. They did mulligan pretty heavily, so maybe they mulligan to some sort of insane hand like that. It's time to like clinch our arseholes now. We're in 5p territory. Please don't go Tronland Ugin. Well, I've probably cut it from the video, but I waited there for a clear 10-15 seconds just waiting to find out. So I don't think they have it, because you just slam the Tronland, slam the Ugin, and like just cackle with glee, right? So they don't have that. It's interesting because like them having Natural Tron there plus an Ugin is a lot less like than us drawing one of our 8 land disruption lands. Like I said, I don't know what the percentage chance is, but it's pretty high that we draw one. But still, I just expected it to happen because some good things never happen to a person like me. And I say that with absolute humor, irony in my voice. I think I can get pretty lucky. I do something I love for a living. That's pretty lucky, right? I'm not going to get too philosophical or soppy whilst we wait for our Tron opponent to figure out how to not die to our onslaught of 4 damage. A little while back, I saw someone saying that Giver of Runes isn't good in the Tron matchup in D&T, and I just don't agree. It blanks Dismember, it blanks any other weird stuff like Spatial Contortion or... holy fuck. They spent God knows how much time there thinking about playing the Natural Tron. Okay, so they have it. Do they have the Ugin as well? Did they just pause to actually cackle with glee in real time? Is that why it took so long? Okay, they tap 4 mana. They play a Khan. That's a thing. Aye. They go looking in their sideboard. What are they going to reveal? An Oblivion Stone. A second one. Okay, so they're going to blow up our board next turn. We really need to draw another Skyclave Apparition on Deputy Attention, but I don't think we're going to. So our board's getting blown up. Oh my fucking god, I'm so good at this game. Okay, so they Natural Tront. We natural double Skyclave, so maybe we're all getting lucky here. We're going to eat the second Oblivion Stone. Oh, they can't to get it out from underneath the Skyclave. That's fascinating shit. A lot of people forget about that. Can't doesn't just go to your sideboard. It actually goes into exile too. So you can like relic up this things like your bin and then pick them up. Fascinating stuff. So if this Skyclave dies now, it doesn't make a token. Huh. Well, we drew the second Skyclave on time. Do they have another out for this mana before we draw a Ghost Quarter or a Volatile Fault? Or even a Lavinia would... Well, Lavinia wouldn't stop them playing a Khan plus something out of the board, for example. It only stops them playing really big stuff. Urza Saga is good for them here. It will get them bodies to block with over time. They play a map. Okay, sure. They can definitely pay to search for the Arbiter, that's for sure. We drew a Ghost Quarter. I feel dirty. I feel unclean at that. We're going to do it in their draw step because it gives them an untapped land. It gives them more mana. We're going to go... We're going to go Arbiter. Pre-combat. I guess there might be an argument for Ghost Quartering the Saga because the blockers that it'll make, but I don't think that's correct here. We're going to go ahead and play an Aether Vial. They have to pay 4 mana to search for our Vial now, or for our Arbiters now. They have access to 8 mana, of course, because of 7 Tron plus green is 8. That was quick maths right there. End step, are they going to pay through our Arbiters to crack the map? Because they have to do that before we Ghost Quarter them, and thus they have to figure out what they're fetching up, right? So they pay 2 to ignore one Arbiter. They pay 2 to ignore the other Arbiter. They pay 2 out of the 3 mana from Tower into their map. And they fetch up Tower. So we go to their draw step. Another reason for waiting for draw step is they might play 2 forests and they've just drawn the other one. So we don't blow up Tower because they can replace it this turn. So we're just going to blow up Mine. Just checking if we've seen any other lands this turn. We haven't. So we're going to blow up Mine. Now, they can obviously pay the 4 mana to get through this. But it severely hampers like what they could play this turn that's good. And they probably want to sink 2 mana into the Urza's Saga generation as well of the token. And thus that's 6 mana there. And they've got 8 right now, plus the Tower. Okay, they didn't pay. We just strip mine them in draw step, which is like absolute gangbusters. Now, do they untap and just slam a mine they've got in their hand? No, they play the Tower that they searched for. Now, the Saga token they can make is going to be a 1-1 this turn, unless they play another artifact. And on top of all that, if they're doing that, they're not doing much else. And I'll give a rune to can protect a creature that's like attacking into that. If they play a Khan, which they are doing, it turns off our Vial, they can go fetch something, but then they aren't making a token to block with, and they aren't doing much else. So they're probably going to grab the Oblivion Stone again. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They can play an next turn, but can't crack it unless they land Tron. So a Vial will tick up with the trigger, but we can't activate now. We do Deputy of Attention, which is it's quite good. If they go Tron land, they just play the stone and crack it, and we are in a bad spot. We can't deputy our own Skyclave as like an insurance policy, which would be nice. It's part of the reason why Fiend Hunter might be cool in some Vega matchups. We can kill Khan and put them to 8, which makes their token still keep them alive. I think we just slam the Archon and pray here. Okay, so we're going to combat. I'm going to hit Khan down to 1 and then 6 them. Because this makes even blocker... I guess killing Khan and hitting them down to 8 still leaves them dead on board even with a blocker. Because like if they just go Tron land stone, we're just dead. I guess they can play the stone and make it into a blocker with Khan. So we kill Khan. It's kind of like the same thing. And also I'm tired of thinking about it, so I think that's it. Now we can attack with Giver here. And then what? They can kill 1 creature. I don't think we care about target removal anymore. Yeah, if we attack with Giver, it means we're more likely to actually just get lethal here. Like, because of Archon, 1 target... I guess they go target removal, Archon, target removal, something else, and then we're still threatening lethal. Like, Dismember would be terrible for them here. It'd have to be something like Spatial Contortion or Whelming Wave or other such nonsense. Now, the Saga is going to grab a 1-drop. It could be like a blocker. It could be a... not Hex Parasite, the other one. The little bug thing that gains them 2 life. That might change the math. They can also grab a map, but the map will cost them 6 mana to search for. Also, they have to pay 2... They have to pay 4 mana right now to actually search. I don't think they want to do that when they're on 7 life and they're staring down a board of cats, core spirits, and core clerics. Also, activating this for a blocker right now means that even if they draw a Tron land, they can't pay the stone and blow it up because it's 9 mana and they only have 5. I think this just means we win. Pick your poison, ask us to sacrifice an artifact. Oh, a creature with flying. Oh, baby. Okay, so we lose the Archon here. That opens them up to a second spell for the turn. I hadn't really thought about pick your poison into Archons, but it doesn't do enough. Okay, if they have a kill spell off of 1 mana, they can kill a thing, block a thing, and survive with them only taking 5. So I don't allow that to be a thing. I just play a Deputy of Detention. Eat the blocker. Go to combat and attack for 8. And we get them. Okay, there you go. That's Tron. They had a really good game. We had a really good game. And then we had an interesting game. But still we had a really good game. Turns out Leon Arbiter... I mean, I've had a million people in the past tell me that Arbiter is bad even into like decks like Tron. I'm like, no, there's certain games... There's certain decks in the meta game where Cat Cleric is good. Cat Jesus is good. I definitely think this is one of them. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I would love to do some more D&T gameplay and modern gameplay in general on the channel, so please let me know if you do enjoy it. Share it with your friends. Watch it a second time. Put it on the background while you're... I was going to say while you're having a wank, but don't do that. That'd be weird. I don't want you to wank to me. Put it on the background when you're playing something. I don't know. Give us that watch time, and it'll make me make more modern content. Thanks for watching.